Hello, class and comments. My name is JC and I am in the 8th grade. In commemorating Black History Month, students have been asked to interview key figures in Black history, conduct original performances, and offer their viewpoints on what Black history means to them. I had the opportunity in interviewing Bruce Fisher for the middle school this week. He is the son of Ada Lewis Sipple Fisher, who applied to the OU College of Law to challenge the segregation laws right here in Oklahoma. Please enjoy this joint effort between the middle school and the high school in celebrating the wonderful contributions in Black history. And watch next week as Nicholas Simon represents our school in his interview with Stanley Evans.
Black History Month could either be considered like a celebration or just a time of remembrance, so we can learn more about the awful history of Black people, especially in America, and just all of the hate and awful things that we went through. But it can also just be a time of relaxation and celebration for Black people. And everybody should celebrate it just because half of what we have here, half of everything built in this country is from Black people.
Hey everyone, this is Erin Thompson here. I'm a senior at Class in CSAS at Northeast High School, and this is our first interview to kick off our Black History Month event. And here we have my grandmother, Dr. Gloria Pollard. Tell us a little bit about your youthful years and your overall experience with Mrs. Clara Looper.
Well, Mrs. Looper was strict. You don't have the quality or the determination that Mrs. Looper possessed. We were in her social studies class, but we had to know everything in her class. We were held accountable for our chemistry, our math, anything that we took in our classes.
Right.
We had to demonstrate in her social studies class.
Right.
And in the homeroom class. Mrs. Looper was interested in our being able to be successful in the world socially, academically, and she got us involved in the NAACP Youth Council.
Mm-hmm.
We were at Dungy High School, which no longer exists. It was taken over by the Oklahoma City Public School System. When we were working in junior high school, Mrs. Looper wrote the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She wrote a play and got us involved in it. The NAACP, the National NAACP, got wind of what we were doing because they came to Oklahoma and saw that we had put on this play, and they wanted us to go to New York City to present the play, which we did. Mrs. Looper told the students, we're going to New York City. In order for you to go, you need to raise $50 apiece. So during that time, each of us raised $50 to go to New York City. And it involved not just going to New York City, but it involved Mrs. Looper's efforts to introduce us to places outside of Oklahoma City and the Oklahoma area.
Right.
To pay $50 to go to New York was really a great deal. We went to New York, stayed in the Henry Hudson Hotel, 21st floor. Having never left Oklahoma was an exciting thing. But it was not just because we went to New York. We went with a purpose. We went to present the story of Dr. Martin Luther King at one of the large theaters in New York. So we did that, and we were able to go from New York City to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
We saw the tomb of the unknown soldier, and it was really special seeing our Vice President, Harris, go there, knowing that I had been there. And when you read Mrs. Looper's book, Behold the Walls, you'll see my name in there while we're visiting the tomb of the unknown soldier. Mrs. Davis was right there during that time as well. So I have memories that can't be limited to just a few minutes. But I'm happy to tell you that those were two mentors in my life who have brought me a long way in the meaningful experience of diversity.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time with us today to tell us a little bit about your story. And thank you guys. That was our interview with Dr. Gloria Pollard.
Mr. Bruce, I am JC Curie and I'm an 8th grader here at Classen SAS Middle School. And I am really excited to be interviewing you today. So thank you for joining me. It's truly an honor to have you here and to speak with you this morning. My first question is, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Jason, I tell you what, you just brought up the subject when you mentioned about being excited to hear from me and my mother's contributions and so forth, because none of that was happening when I was attending Northeast High School. None of this kind of thing was happening with respect to Black History Month and people who were doing this. None of that kind of stuff was happening. Secondary thing I'd like to say is that there's a thirst and a curiosity amongst the entire nation to gain more understanding and more appreciation for the footsteps that other people have taken before them.
What are your thoughts about this last year, being one of the most significant years for African American lives all around the country?
What we are experiencing now is not, in my opinion, the reoccurrence of the civil rights movement. If you look at the pictures of the protest movement in the 60s and look at the racial composition of it, and look at the racial composition of the Black Lives Matter program, we struck a nerve. Well, America has struck a nerve. And the nerve they struck said, we're not going to take it anymore. If you look at the pictures of Greenwood, Black Wall Street, they say Greenwood in Tulsa. But there are photographs of black men walking down the street saying, don't shoot. Hands up. That was 100 years ago. They're still doing it today.
Thank you once again for joining me today and having this interview with me. I truly had a wonderful time talking to you about civil rights and what Black History Month is all about. And I can tell you that so many kids listening to this are going to look at civil rights and Black History Month in a new light and new perspective. So thank you so much.
What goes through your mind when you see me? Do you fear for your life? Are you gonna run and hide? Or will you stand your ground, maybe try and shoot me down? How do you walk around with your head so high? Do you feel unstoppable? Are you ever gonna hear me out? Or will you remain in the clouds? Maybe just ignore my cries from below? Did I do something to upset you? Do I appear too bold? Are you offended by my beauty? Or will you disregard my brilliance? Maybe mislabel my blackness for barbarism instead? When will you finally understand me? Do you find it impossible to see me eye to eye? Are you afraid to notice me for who I am? Or will you linger in your false narrative yet again? Maybe the joys of your power trip are far too satisfying to you. What do you suppose I say? Do I ask you nicely with my hands clasped behind me? Are my tear-stained cheeks and weary eyes not enough to make you wonder? Or should I lead by force, fighting for everything that I deserve? Maybe the day will come when you truly recognize me. But when? No more questions.